WWE must avoid this big mistake with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what that big mistake is and why it's so important, because WWE has found itself in a hot spot, not only in general with business, that's pretty clear, but Liv Morgan, she has caught fire within the fan base. She has caught fire with the fan base that has supported her for so many years, and when Liv Morgan is on top and she's rocking and rolling, you best believe her fans are going to come out and support her. Liv Morgan and WWE, they've caught fire at the exact same time due to a necessity. Now look, SummerSlam, it was all about Liv Morgan. It was all about Dominant Mysterio. And going into that match, I had made it very, very clear that I hoped WWE would at least be aware enough to not just do a one-off match or even a second match, right? I would hope that they would want to get as much out of this storyline because of how over it is. The fans are buying into it. You might as well run with it, right? And so at SummerSlam, we obviously know that Dominant Mysterio, he betrayed Rhea Ripley. He aligned himself with Liv Morgan, and they are off to the races. Rhea, she was absolutely destroyed. Monday Night Raw, they continued that program. It's a program that I'm looking forward to very much so. Here's the thing, though, with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. WWE has been able to do a very good job at avoiding pitfalls and mistakes and places that they could trip up with the storyline. But this one big thing that they got to avoid, it's the most important, because you have to understand this. The reason that Liv Morgan is in the position that she is in is because of out of necessity. WWE needed to create a bigger star coming out of WrestleMania 40, when not only they lost Rhea Ripley, its current women's world champion at the time, due to injury thanks to a backstage segment with Liv Morgan, but they also knew that they were about to lose Becky Lynch. And so you had to create a new star to pick up the ball and run with it, because Rhea had such an epic women's world title run that lasted over a year. And they did that, and they did that through Liv Morgan, which was actually unprecedented at the time, considering that Liv Morgan, while yes, has had a former reign as champion, she has never been given this type of spotlight where you are opening, closing, and having multiple segments throughout Monday Night Raw on an everyday basis. And that is so important to her rise, and that is so important to this keep. So I was thinking coming out of SummerSlam, okay, where are they going? Yada, yada, yada. But then it made me think, okay, this is what they have got to avoid in the bigger picture. And with this feud and with WWE and Triple H, well, he thinks bigger future. So what is that? When they do this rematch, regardless of when it is, and the date doesn't necessarily matter, whenever they do this rematch, they can't have a clean finish. You can't have Liv Morgan beat Rhea Ripley for a second straight time. You just can't. It kills the momentum that Rhea has, right? She got screwed over once. Okay, fine. That's great. I'm okay with that. You cannot have her get beat a second time. You also can't have Dominant Mysterio cost Rhea the win. We've been there, done that, and it would come off as repetitive, and I don't think it would be as effective, not only for the finish of that match, but coming out of that match. I actually think it would take it back a step. You also cannot have Rhea Ripley beat Liv Morgan, and I'll tell you why. She can't have her revenge right away. Like, we need to extend this multiple months. It's too big of a program, and I actually think they will have this be a multiple PLE program. You cannot have her beat Liv Morgan for the title. You can't. You just can't. You can't do a title switch, because then you're doing hot potato with a title in which both Liv, Rhea, and Becky Lynch have built up. You just can't do it. So I thought to myself, how can WWE get around this? And this is my conclusion. This is my solution, if you will. I think you have it be a situation in which you do a DQ or a no contest where, let's say, Dominant Mysterio gets involved and Rhea loses her cool and absolutely destroys Dominant Mysterio with like a chair, right? And it's a DQ, it's a no contest, it's a whatever you want to say. Rhea doesn't get beat, Liv doesn't get beat, and you also get it in a situation in which the fans don't feel like they got cheated or robbed or screwed over by having just this lackluster finish, right? because Dominic Mysterio is one of the most hated heels in all of pro wrestling. Not just WWE, in all of pro wrestling. And what a better way to get a good pop. What a better way to get Rhea Ripley over even more, if that's even possible. And what a better way to get Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley over even bigger. That's what I would do if I'm WWE. That's what I would do if I'm Triple H. I think that is the best way to do it if you were going to do it. And I actually think that if you go in there and you have Rhea lose, I think the fans are going to give WWE a real backlash. And I actually think if they go in there and they have Rhea go over Liv, I think there's going to be a backlash because people are invested in this feud, right? Like, it's not a small community. There's a reason why you're having it, Rhea opening this week's Monday Night Raw, right? Like, there's a reason for that. People are really, really invested in this. And you can talk about the fact that, well, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre is the top feud on this program right now on Monday Night Raw. Maybe, but what's been the program that's been carrying Monday Night Raw throughout the last few months? It's not been CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, right? It's been Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. The booking tells you what is hot and what isn't. It's just a reality of the situation. It's not Gunther's world champion. It's not Damian Priest as world champion. It's not Gunther versus Randy Orton going into Bash in Berlin as your top program. They can be in the main event and they can be on the marquee, but at the end of the day, that match ain't selling U.S. subscriptions to Peacock. It's just not. Look, they had a great match at King of the Ring, Orton and Gunther did, but they're not necessarily... They can main event, and they probably will because Gunther's going to be in Germany, and it makes sense, and I'm actually okay with it. But there's also a reason why Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan opened SummerSlam, right? Because WWE, they've made it very, very clear, SummerSlam, it's a big deal. It's a bigger event. It's going to be a bigger event. It's likely going to expand to a 2-night show in 2025. We know it's going to expand to a 2-night show in 2026. So you might as well, make it very, very clear. Okay, SummerSlam is a huge event, right? We've always knew that it was considered one of the big four. WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. I would put Money in the Bank as a top 5, if not replace Survivor Series. I'm not a huge fan of War Games. I actually don't think there's a lot of interest in the Survivor Series concept and or the War Games concept. It's the same match every single year. You have to kill 30 minutes before everyone gets in the ring because there's no false finishes. And then you do a bunch of spots that really have no meaning. Someone jumps off the top of the cage, and then you have typically the babyface team hit their finishers as like a spamming finisher in a video game, and they go over. Like, that's the match. So I would put Money in the Bank over Survivor Series. Either way, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley opening up SummerSlam, yeah, that's a pretty big deal. Let me know down in the comments here below, what do you think about my comments and this big mistake that they must avoid? I'm looking forward to your responses.